How do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. We're live here on WYSL on this wonderful Monday. So give us a call if you want to participate in the conversation. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We are also broadcasting over on WACK. Well, we are rebroadcasting on WACK out in New York, so thank you for being here as well. And we're live on our Facebook page, the Kevin Wilson Facebook pages, the Twitter account, the Free Solution Facebook page, and the Free Solution YouTube channel. Wherever you're watching today, thank you for being here. Leave your comments because this is a live show too. We're talking about billionaires in space. We've had two high-profile launches, and I know Elon Musk is trying to get up there too. So Richard Branson went up into space-ish, and same with Jeff Bezos, kind of went up into space-ish. And there's a lot of anger at it. Like people are super mad that Jeff Bezos used some of his wealth to go into space. Mostly from the billionaires shouldn't exist crowd, the hard lefties who get angry every time someone makes a profit, even if they are making a profit, serving our needs, and even if they are contributing to that profit by using their services like Amazon or whatever, and I see a little bit from the right too. I see people who are just they hate Amazon and Jeff Bezos for a bunch of reasons, maybe because they are just populist and they hate big corporations, or because Jeff Bezos is associated with Washington Post, or because they think that Amazon killed small businesses or whatever. I don't have a big love for Amazon or Jeff Bezos, but I got to be honest, I think generally Amazon has made my life better. I use it all the time, and oftentimes to support small businesses too. A lot of small businesses get their stuff on there. This isn't about Amazon itself. This is about going into space, which I think is cool. Like Tim and I were making fun of this a bit on Friday, right? Because, well, it's easy to make fun of because Jeff Bezos's rocket, well, it looked a bit funny. We'll leave it at that, guys. You can fill in the blanks. You know what the rocket looks like, and it's easy to make fun of, but like unironically, I actually think this is cool as heck that private industry is starting to get into the space race, right? Like we don't have to only rely on the government to get us in the space to do things like starting to explore the moon. There are private companies that are getting into this, and this is just a tip. This is just the start of a private space race of companies who are starting to see opportunity beyond the earth. And it's not that there's no risk in this. It's not that this isn't going to cost a lot of resources in a lot of ways, but I think it is cool. I was just watching a video last night about that, how there's a company right now, private company, not a government company, but they are, partnering with NASA on certain aspects of this. They're trying to apparently set up a 4G network on the moon, so that when eventually there is lunar colonization, there's going to be communications networks to be able to work together. So they're setting up, they're going to be landing, I think, on the south pole of the moon where they think some water's going to be. They're going to start setting up these communications towers down there, and then, driving around and testing their ability to work. That stuff is awesome. And who knows, we don't even know what we don't know about space, again, because we haven't been to the moon in decades now. There's so much more technology that we have nowadays. There's so many more opportunities that could be out there for resource extraction, colonization, and just learning about life beyond our planet. So I'm genuinely excited about this stuff. But again, there's lots of folks who are less excited than me. That's fine, be less excited. I think it's cool. And I don't have any problem with private corporations getting. I mean, of course, not surprising. I'm libertarian, right? Like, why would I have an issue with private corporations going into space? But man, you know what? Like, if Elon Musk wants to go and colonize Mars and he's using his money to do it instead of a government taking money from me and blowing it on a whole bunch of stupid stuff, that's great. He can take his money and do whatever he wants with it. And in fact, you know, if he's taking his money and doing something to advance humanity, which in this case, I think he is. I think that is the future, is to get off this planet, you know, to start exploring other things eventually. Then great. He's not pointing a gun to my head and saying like, well, you have to pay for this for the good of humanity, and that's what the government does. And it's not to say that NASA hasn't done some really cool stuff, but I think it's great if private companies can see profit in doing this. And sometimes it's not just profits, it is altruism too, and or ego. You know, they want to get out in space because they want to be the first ones to do a thing. Great. So now you get all these lefties who's like, oh my goodness, Jeff Bezos spent $5.5 billion to go out into space. And that's so much money. And imagine all the other stuff he could have done with it. And he built down the backs of this exploited corporation, whatever. You know, that's, again, these types of folks, they can't see how the wealth of capitalism allows people to do that. And this is a good thing. They would rather all of us be a bit poorer than to have people like Jeff Bezos exist at all, for him to be able to make that amount of money. And an important thing to note about his wealth, and also wealth of people like Elon Musk and Richard Branson, whoever else, they don't have it in like, and I said this right, they don't have it in like a big Scrooge McDuck gold pile in their basement. Like, that's not how that works. Like, it's not, it's all invested in capital, in the stock, the wealth of the business. That it is that amount of wealth that like people say that Jeff Bezos has that makes him the richest man on earth. The reason why that is because people value his ownership in Amazon. Like, that's what that is. Same with Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX. People think that the investments that they've made in the capital infrastructure, the talent they brought to that, and the future of that ownership, because of the potential for profit and growth, that's where that wealth comes from. It's not sitting in a pile of cash in their mattress. You can't just take that wealth. You can't just extract it from them, because part of the value is that they own it too, that they're doing stuff with that wealth as well. And I know Jeff Bezos, I think, has taken some step back, but you know, with any of these folks, it's the value, the reason why it's worth so much is because they have added value to that. And in this case, again, they've added value by doing things people like. Amazon does things like get me 2-day shipping when I wanted covers for my windows, something I actually ordered the other day, or I wanted a new golf set for my brother. Order that. Oh, look, it's coming in 2 days. That's amazing. It is very cool to be able to do that. They make my life better in a very small way. And it's easy to take for granted all of these things that, again, 100 years ago would have looked like sorcery. Like, what do you mean you can get something from across the country? You can look at a magic box on your phone, say you want something, and have it show up to your house 2 days later. They don't even know where to start looking for that thing. You have to go find a magazine. You have to write a letter, send in money, and then eventually, I don't know, maybe 2 months later, you might get that thing. And that was 100 years ago. And that was still a miracle then. 100 years before that, not even possible to get that stuff. But the left, they take that for granted. They don't understand all of the prosperity that capitalism brings, not just to people like Jeff Bezos, but also to people like you and me. I don't think Amazon's great all the time, but I do think the system of capitalism is great all the time. It is, well, most of the time. You know, there's some bad stuff that happens. But again, capitalism doesn't shoot for perfection. It shoots for better than the alternative. That when you give people freedom, you're able to get prosperity and wealth and convenient things. Again, ordering a golf set for my brother. Cool. It was like, say, golf towels and things, not a whole golf set. I'm not that rich. I'm not Bezos rich. But, you know, that type of stuff that makes our lives better in a small way is stuff that would have been out of the reach of kings hundreds of years ago. to everyday things that we can take for granted. So as we continue this show, I'm going to keep talking about some of this stuff. I want to talk about the capitalism. I want to talk about, should we take Jeff Bezos's money? Should we tax wealth? And then other risks of going into space too, because again, it's not risk free, and not merely for the people going up there, but for all of us. There's a risk in doing that, and I'll talk about that, and what government should do about it, and how we prepare for some of those risks. So when we come back, we'll talk about some of that stuff. Keep talking about the space race that's now going on among private corporations, and a bit more. If you want to participate in the discussion, you have thoughts on any of this stuff, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in just a few minutes on A Free Solution.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000 if you want to participate in the discussion or leave your comments online too. Should billionaires exist? Does Jeff Bezos have too much money? Did he earn it in a way? And I know there's a libertarian critique of some of the stuff too, the Jeff Bezos stuff, the Elon Musk stuff. But yeah, some government money went into that. I don't like that. I don't like that Elon Musk made some of his money, by getting solar subsidies and stuff like that. No, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not crazy about that stuff, right? But overall, if you make your money by providing a service to folks and improving your lives, then great. Again, better than the government extracting money from you forcibly and using it for things like war or for, I don't know, subsidizing a bunch of nonsense. They're taking your hard-earned money to do that. These guys are at least earning it by providing value, by selling a product or service that people like, that people want, that people voluntarily give a bunch of their money to. And I think that is distinct from specific criticisms of them and how they treat their workers, whatever. Again, I think that is a separate discussion, and not necessarily the same discussion of the billionaires shouldn't exist folks, right? These folks, the most radical type of people who are talking about, like, this type of money is obscene and that you can only get it through exploitation. It's nonsense. These people don't understand economics at all. If you think that the only way for someone to make profit is through exploitation, it's like you've never been in an entrepreneurial position where if you do something where, again, you provide something valuable, folks, you have a talent, people like what you do, people want to pay for what you do, and you can scale that to bring it to a bunch of people, then great. You're going to make a bunch of money for that. You're going to be rewarded. That is a good thing. And those incentives are a much better thing than how the government does things, which, again, they take money. It doesn't matter how they spend it. Doesn't matter. They're not trying to serve any specific person with a market feedback mechanism. So it's not possible. It's possible that they can end up wasting a massive amount of money or hurting people or doing things that we don't particularly like or just amassing wealth and power for themselves. That's how the state works a lot of times. And so these billionaires, if they want to use their money on going into space, cool, right? If you think it's a waste of money, then fine. It's their money. It's less wasteful than what the U.S. government does. But if you think like, well, what if these billionaires, what could they do with their money instead? Could they have given it to feed people? Could the U.S. government have taken it in taxation? And that's how this is how these arguments usually go. Well, if they were taxed at a higher rate, they wouldn't have the money to be able to do this stuff. And therefore, we'd have money to solve poverty programs, whatever. I mean, let me tell you something. You'll see varying estimates on this, but basically, if we took all of Jeff Bezos's wealth, it would only be able to run the government for max a couple weeks. Like, the government spends so much money, just a crazy, unfathomable amount of money. People aren't good at dealing with big numbers. Like, it's hard to fathom what a trillion actually is. It is a mind-boggling number that human brains weren't developed to comprehend. But the amount of money that we're spending every year, since it's so hard to wrap around, Jeff Bezos' money only pays for a small fraction of that. If you took it from all the billionaires, it would not even cover our expenses for a single year. And we have these people in Congress, and Joe Biden talking about how we're going to increase spending and we're just going to tax a little bit more. It's nonsense. You cannot possibly tax enough to pay for this stuff. And every time you do that, wealth is destroyed in that process. We can debate, what level of taxation is appropriate, assuming you're not one of the taxation is death folk who, and I'm sorry, friends, I'm not totally there on the taxation is theft side. I know I have some radicals say no level of taxation is justified. I'm whatever, if you want some level of taxation, we kind of got to operate within the Overton window of where most people are, right? So you want to have that discussion, right? If I accept that premise, I don't like it, but fine. All right. So we can debate what level of taxation is appropriate. But if you have I gotta pronounce this word now, confiscatory policies where basically the whole goal is to make sure that billionaires can exist, right? That destroys opportunities too. I think it would be a shame if U.S. government policy were shifted to the point where people like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, or whoever else is not private firms too, where they couldn't create these entities that would do things above and beyond what are possible now, where they can take the risk, make an investment in a way that would be very risky for a government to do because, well, that is money that maybe should be going towards roads and whatnot. If they're going to take our money, they might as well do something good with it and provide types of services that are difficult for private corporations to do. And before your road folks, so I know private corporations can build roads. It's just that there's a public use problem, a free rider problem, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But if you're going to do that, I can make the argument for it, right? I understand what they're trying to say here. Let them do that then. Let governments do that. And then the space exploration stuff, the stuff that doesn't have an immediate concrete need, let the billionaires do that stuff because it's cool and it advances humanity. And that's the important part, right? Like it advances technology, like some of the stuff that SpaceX is doing to help bring internet to people, getting all these micro satellites in extremely low Earth orbit to make sure that like internet service can be provided around the world. That's cool. That's great. And if they're successful, if they launch their thousands of little satellites into space, if they're able to do that, that means that many, many more people, possibly billions of more people around the world, will have access to internet services and be able to take that and improve their own lives, connect with other people around the world, sell a product, to get information, get an education, whatever. There's still many people around the world who don't have access to reliable internet. If they do that successfully, great. And if they profit off of it, who cares? They're making humanity a better place. Right, but they're making humanity better. They're giving more economic opportunity to people by providing value. And if they spend a bunch of money doing it, they take the risk to do that. I love it. And what happens a lot of times is that, people get in this mindset that only government can do those things. Nonsense. There are opportunities to do this, to respond to market forces and to provide value to folks without extractive taxation. And that's what I'm excited to see. Again, not that there isn't risk with this stuff, because what could happen too is if you aren't careful with stuff with going into space, there's this thing called Kessler syndrome, where basically there's a worry that if one satellite crashes to another, it'll create debris, stuff that's in low Earth orbit. It'll just kind of keep going. It never really falls. It just kind of keeps going around the Earth at thousands of kilometers an hour. And that can create shrapnel to destroy more objects in space, right? And shut down our satellite system and trap people on Earth. Now, today, that hasn't happened yet. People are worried that corporations are going to be haphazard doing that stuff, launching too much stuff into space, create more opportunities for accidents, whatever. To date, only one of those things has happened, though. It was like a Russian satellite crash, a dead Russian satellite crashing into a private satellite a few years ago. And it ended up not being as bad as people thought, because again, they're worried that this debris will never fall. That's a risk. That's something that could happen. You could get a careless corporation that launches stuff up without considering where other objects are and create a crash that could be devastating. I think there may be a role for governments in helping to prevent that, but I also think that most corporations don't want to lose their assets either, nor do they want to find themselves trapped on Earth. So they're going to be very careful in this process as well. I don't think that this is a private corporations are always going to be reckless type of thing. That's ridiculous. Governments are reckless all the time. As I pointed out with the oil or the gas leak in the Gulf of Mexico with the Mexican government, just because it's government owned doesn't mean that they're going to be more careful. In fact, many times they're less accountable than private corporations are. You can hold a specific company accountable for that stuff. A lot of state-owned entities, they'll say, well, we got state sovereignty, so we're not going to do anything with it. Nope, you're just stuck paying for this stuff, dealing with the consequences of government-sponsored accidents. That's what happens way too often on the environmental level. Now, where it could happen in space too, but corporations, they want to get and they also will have a lot of incentive to fix the Kessler syndrome issue if it becomes a greater worry. And people are working on that, right? There are services that are trying to contract with government to clean up our space junk, because there's a bunch of dead satellites floating up there already. They just kind of just spin around and around. You got to clean them up somehow. Contract with governments or private corporations who want a trash-free space so they can get out to the moon, get out to Mars, have their satellites up there, all that stuff. There's an opportunity to make a profit there. But we've got to make sure that governments don't get in the way of that. All right, and I think I'm running out of time. I thought I heard the music there for a second. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in a few. So if you want to call in, participate in the discussion, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We're going to be back in just a few minutes on A Free Solution.
Fly the flag, stand for freedom. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We're looking at partly cloudy skies, a little muggy out there. Temps will stay in the 60s, a bit more humid Tuesday. Sun to clouds. There could be an afternoon shower, even a thunderstorm. So have to keep an eye to the sky for that. Temperatures in the low 80s, much cooler. It will dry out nicely. Less humidity on Wednesday with temperatures in the 70s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
FM Talk. What's with those injury attorney TV ads these days? Seems like they're in a race to see who can put more lawyer faces on the screen. Even with an 80-inch TV, you can't make them out. What's the point? Maybe they're trying to impress with who's biggest, but it ends up looking like an undergrad photo in your school yearbook, or maybe a dating site from hell. Of course, the one attorney that matters to you is the one who's helping you put your life back together after a personal injury or a motorcycle accident, or handling your DWI defense. Christopher Johnson makes you feel like you're his only client because when you meet with him, your case gets 100% of his attention. Write this number down. Keep it in your car. 415-3803. 415-3803. At this number, instead of getting lost in the crowd, you'll get individual attention, integrity, experience, and expertise. Write it down. 415-3803. Put the power of one on your legal team. Stay safe, be healthy, drive sober. Christopher Johnson, attorney. Personal injury, car or motorcycle accidents, DWI defense.
Summertime means new good weather adventures with a little help from Victor Chevrolet. Make memories this summer in your 2021 Equinox all-wheel drive LS. Lease it for just $269.95 per month for 39 months. Or enjoy the versatility of a tough and roomy 2021 Trailblazer LS front-wheel drive. Lease for only $179.95 a month for 39 months. You could haul plenty of people and cargo in your 2021 Chevy Silverado 1500 custom double cab pickup. Lease it for just $389 a month for 36 months. All these deals include all applicable factory rebates, incentives, and discounts. 10,000 miles per year, 25 cents for each additional mile. $2,500 cash or trade. First payment, tax, acquisition, bank, and DMV fees due at signing for all leases. Lessee responsible for repair and maintenance. Security deposit is waived. Must have existing lease and household. Tier 1 credit approval required. And all deals end 7/31/2021. Victor Chevy needs your trade. Find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit victorchevrolet.com.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
Emani, time for school, baby. Emani, time for school. Emani, it's time.
A different couch, a different floor, the backseat of a car. Over 2,000 Rochester school-aged children are homeless, but now there is hope. The Open Door Mission Cold Water House for moms and their children. OpenDoorMission.com/doves.
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery offers a great selection of pies, cookies, and dinner rolls. Call 226-9575 and place your order. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery in Avon.
All-Star Custom Apparel and Design is your local source for outfitting your team, employees, or customers and updating your logo, detailing your vehicles, signs, drinkware, and more. We will get your name recognized. Call 585-623-4000 to see what All-Star can do for you.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us here. We're live on WYSL until 1 p.m. So give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion, 585-346-3000, or comment on A Free Solution, the Facebook page, A Free Solution, the YouTube channel, or the Kevin Wilson pages, wherever you are listening today. Appreciate you being here. Quick shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark. Appreciate y'all listening here as well. We're talking about billionaires in space. What should we think about the Jeff Bezos stuff? And, I was thinking about this all last week, just getting increasingly frustrated with leftists. And then there's also a really great podcast. This isn't an ad for anything. I just really enjoyed this. There's a Andrew Heaton podcast, A Political Orphanage. And he discussed this question where he talks about this petition to launch Jeff Bezos in the space permanently. And he poses the question, if you had the choice of launching Jeff Bezos into space permanently or doubling the wealth of every person on Earth, what would you choose? And he suspects, and I think he's correct in this, that a lot of people would choose to just launch Jeff Bezos into space. They think that is where poverty comes from. They think that Jeff Bezos, people like Jeff Bezos, are what makes us poor, instead of doubling the income of every person on Earth. Because, in fact, what has happened in the last several decades, as more and more countries have transitioned away from socialism, not that there's some worries here in the U.S., but a lot of countries since the fall of the Soviet Union have transitioned away from socialism and have adopted more free market practices. World poverty has been cut in half. World poverty has been reduced dramatically, actually more than half. It's been reduced by a ton. We've seen a huge growth in wealth. And again, the wealth gap continues to grow. People like Jeff Bezos get richer and richer, and again, to me, I don't care if that's the case. Like, I don't care if Jeff Bezos gets richer, if my life is richer too, if my life is better, if I'm able to, and I was talking with the producer over one of the breaks, if I'm able to, like, while I'm grilling, realize, oh shoot, you know what, I need a new grill cover because this one's a mess and I want to make my grill last a little bit longer. Boop, boop, tap in my phone. Then wow, suddenly a new grill cover comes a couple days later. That's a cool thing. That's a great thing. That increases, my, time. I don't have to run to the store, look for what I want, hope I get the right thing this time. No, I can keep grilling, enjoy my dinner, spend time with my family. That is a nice thing. And I'm able to do that cheaply and effectively. But there's a lot of folks, again, who don't think that billionaires should exist at all. And those folks don't consider all of the benefits that free market capitalism brings to us. Again, not that there isn't problems with it, not that we don't have cronyism in the system that we have now, that, we can talk about the problems all day, but I don't want to lose sight of the very, very cool and beneficial system that we have. For the type of folks who are so angry that someone might have wealth, that they aren't seeing the wealth that's generated for everyone else, or they're so angry that there's a wealth gap. And, and in the podcast I was listening to, he was discussing, whether or not it's like an old human instinct, right? Like, if you and the tribe capture, like a woolly mammoth or whatever, you want to share that up pretty equally, right? Like, one person shouldn't get all of it. So you have an innate sense of fairness that when someone seems to have more stuff than you, right? Is that an innate part of human nature to see inequality as dangerous? Because in a survival situation, it might seem more dangerous, right? When one person has a bunch and someone has little. But when you're looking at things on the scope of humanity as it exists today, and seeing that when you have capitalism, when you have an environment where people are able to be free to have private property, to generate wealth on their own, to provide, to earn an income by providing value to folks, poverty is erased. And the other thing that people think is that poverty is caused by capitalism. And whenever I don't generally want to get into arguments with these folks, because, like, part of me feels like, well, what's the point? But we gotta sometimes, right? People think that capitalism causes poverty. No, poverty is the natural state of man. Like we have lived, we as in all of humanity have lived mostly in poverty for most of our history until a couple hundred years ago. Like 99.99% of humans will live in what we recognize as poverty today. Even the wealthiest of kings, as I pointed out, did not have access to things like, for goodness sake, I saw this in the meme the other day, something like vanilla. Like we think of vanilla ice cream as plain ice cream now. That is plain ice cream. Vanilla is a spice that is a miracle to get. It is amazing that we have a global network that's able to get spices from anywhere around the world. Vanilla is like this thing from a flower that only exists in certain tropical islands and only blooms for a very, very short amount of time that we're able to mass produce and get anywhere in the world. Something as simple as spices, salt, refrigeration. These are things that we have access to because of the built wealth of capitalism, because of global trade networks, because of the ability for people to profit from serving others as a miracle. And the people on the left want to take that away. They think that because inequality exists, we need to destroy those systems. And that is incredibly dangerous. And there are folks on the right who want to take it away too. There are some traditionalists who are critical of capitalism and think that we should reframe our state and state actions and in a way to limit the ability of capitalism to help us prosper. So I don't want to discount the threat that comes from the extreme conservatives either any more than the extreme left. And to be frank, I'm if you are a Democrat who is a small L liberal and still believes in capitalism, and we disagree on a couple other things, I can get with you on some of that stuff. And I think there's a difference between some of the liberals and then like the extreme, behead all billionaires left. We can, it's sad, but I think there's a common ground to be had with some of those folks, at least from where I sit, and I'm closer to them than the tradcon right and the radical commie Marxist left wingers that exist out there. I'd rather have those folks as my friends than some of the others. But again, my whole point in all of this discussion is that when you have freedom, when you don't confiscate wealth, you're able to build wonderful, amazing things that I can't even comprehend what space travel is going to look like in the next 20, 30, 50 years. I'm not in that stuff. I don't know. And I don't want politicians to ruin that by either taking away the wealth of billionaires or limiting space travel to government only. Because there's a lot of governments who just, including our own, who just don't have the imagination, don't have the vision, don't have the proper incentives to build a space program that is going to work in the long term. The space race in the United States worked because we had the enemy of the Soviet Union and we wanted to beat them. And some people just want to achieve for the sake of achieving, which is great. But it's really hard to sustain that when you don't have a motive beyond beating your enemy to get to space, or a motive of we just want to do this because it's good for humanity. Well, that's vague. That's vague, But if your motive is, well, we're going to go to the moon, not only because it's cool, but because we can make a bunch of money off of it and then make this a self-sustaining program that eventually we're able to make enough profit to establish ourselves there and to build from that and to explore further reaches of space, that is sustainable. That is something that can exist long term. That it doesn't depend on the political will of a fickle population who could suddenly decide, rightly or wrongly, like, well, we're going to cut a bunch of NASA funding, and suddenly all this money that we invested in going to the moon, well, it's not going to happen anymore. Or we run out of money because, well, we spent a boatload of it on who knows what the heck we've spent it on the last couple decades, and now there's no more money to go to the moon. So, well, sorry, space race is done. No, if the billionaires, the big corporations, or small startup nimble corporations are able to have the freedom to get into space and to start doing cool things with that, we will see massive benefits to humanity that, again, we can't even imagine. I don't even know what it's going to look like. Could you imagine like what the world looked like now from the vantage point of the year 2000? Things are more weird, wonderful, and prosperous than we could have imagined. There's a lot of terrifying things going on, but I'm generally an optimist about this stuff. then when we have freedom, we're also going to open ourselves up to new opportunities to thrive, succeed, and learn. I don't know. I'm feeling like I've gotten so much Marxist propaganda from some of the folks who are my friends, people in college who are getting sucked into this like socialist mindset of limited imagination that I need to fight back against. And I know I get in these moods every once in a while, but you know what? Gosh darn it, we need to be pro free markets all the time and understand how these systems benefit not just the wealthy, but me and you and the people who are very, very poor too, and help them lift themselves up from poverty. It is possible. We have created a better world already by having more freedom. Okay, end of rant. All right, thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We got one more segment after this. Make sure you leave your comments online or give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Back in a few minutes with more from A Free Solution.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, He is my refuge and my fortress, for He will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us live here at WYSL, which means that you can give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000, or leave your comments online. I do have Tim O'Connor saying hi, our Friday co-host, saying hello from Boyceville, New York. And he says he's I'm at the famous Bread Alone location, saving the world with solar power. Well, good job, Tim. Proud of you, buddy. Saving the world with solar power. Good luck. You know, I haven't gone on a good I'm not anti-solar power. I'm not like anti-solar power. It's just I don't think that it's going to save the world. Sorry, solar power advocates. It requires a lot of resources to produce still, a lot of land mass to provide enough power in its current form to. And I know Tim, you're probably joking, but I'm going to go on a small tangent here. Nuclear power is really the only way to go. Like wind, it's fine. Solar's fine. It's great, but it requires some money to dispose of those things properly and recycle them properly. So a lot of times these solar panels, instead of getting recycled, they end up getting in the dump. There's toxic metals, and it can be kind of a mess, and it's really expensive to do things properly, and it requires a lot more land mass than you'd think, a lot more materials than you'd think. If environmentalist progressives really cared about reducing the amount of carbon pollution in the atmosphere, they would embrace nuclear power. That's it. End of rant. I'll do another show on that because I got some issues with the Rochester and other area like clean energy initiatives that they're doing, where they're trying to force everyone into a solar and wind based program, supposedly renewable energy, and you have to opt out. But there's a nuclear power plant in the region that could provide a boatload of the power for this area. And I mean, it does. It provides a good lot of it, but we could be expanding that instead of putting a lot of resources into more expensive solar and wind, or opening up new gas facilities, which are going to serve as backups for the solar and wind when their capacity drops. Still want to do a whole show on that, but I really want to get the right person in to talk about that. And so if you know anyone who's an expert in nuclear power or renewable energy, would love to talk to them on and send us an email, contact@afreesolution.com. All right, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit. That was my buffer of shifting gears, but for our last segment, I also want to talk about the draft thing, right? So there is a new bill where in the new National Defense Appropriation Act, where they are now adding women to the selective service, where so the draft, right? And it's very interesting to see how this is working. Now we haven't used the draft in a while. Right now, as many know, if you are a man and you want to access certain types of federal services and employment, you have to sign up for the draft. You have to sign up for the selective service. I don't like this. I think that the draft is immoral. I think it violates the 13th Amendment. And this isn't anything against serving your country in that way. If you want to serve our country in the military, great. Again, my dad did that. But I don't think that there should be any draft at all. And I don't think that we're in a more equitable and better world by forcing women in the service, should a president ever choose to do that. It's funny. So like the ACLU, which is, while they said that men only registration actually impedes women's full participation in civic life. What? No, this isn't participation. This is coercion. What the draft means is that if the president or whoever says that you need to serve in the military, you need to be given a gun and go overseas and potentially hurt people, that you have to do that or you will be dragged to jail. You'll be thrown in a cage and hurt. No, that is a monstrous system. It's my belief that if the government wants to go to war somewhere, if they can't make the case to enough people to actually carry out the war, then maybe we shouldn't be doing that. If it's so unpopular that no one wants to sign up, that no one wants to serve, then that is your signal that we should not be in that conflict. Probably going to be unconstitutional anyway, having a conflict overseas. No, the draft is, and this is radical language I know rubs people the wrong way, but it is tantamount to slavery. Not the same as chattel slavery, calm down, but it is tantamount to slavery. Even if you're getting paid for it, if you are being forced under threat of being thrown in a cage, threatened with violence, if you don't serve, if you don't pick up a gun and go overseas and participate in war, if that's what the consequence is, that is to me tantamount to slavery, and it is an ugly system. So forcing women into that is not a better world. Saying women get to participate in the draft, nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's monstrous. And ACO, sometimes they have good opinions, but man, like sometimes like this type of stuff, like, oh, we have more equality because women are going to be forced into war too. What? Like, have you lost your? Aren't they supposed to stand for liberty? They're the American Civil Liberties Union. Are you kidding me? No. We're going to invite more. We're going to have women participate in this system too. That makes it so you're compelled to go to war as well. I signed up for it when I was 18. Whatever. But I mean, if I could do it again, I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would participate in that system, just because I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to have to be forced into war, and I don't think it makes sense to deny people government services if you're going to have those government services based on that. I mean, leave me a comment if you think differently, but what I would love to see the so-called progressive Biden administration do is to abolish the draft altogether. We haven't used it in a while. It's too dangerous of a tool to keep around for a president. And again, if we can't convince the American people to sign up and participate in a war, if we're not able to do that, like we did, even with the last wars, which I'm still against Afghanistan and Iraq, we didn't have a draft for those. We had people who signed up for that. If that's their thing. You want to volunteer for that? Great. We should have an all-volunteer army. It's better from a liberty standpoint. It's better from a morale standpoint, and it doesn't force anyone to participate in a way they want to. And the progressives making the argument that, like, not only should we have the draft, but we should expand it and force people into the service domestically too, because it brings the country together. I mean, like, could you imagine like the mindset where the only way you think you can build civic society is by forcing people in the service, that if you have like common forced labor, that's what was going to make your country stronger? That's ridiculous. It's monstrous. That's fascist thinking. But we're getting that from the left nowadays. We get it from the right sometimes too, but mostly, again, this is a left-wing phenomenon where they want to expand service and the other thing. But if you're compelled in any type of service under the threat of violence, under the threat of going to jail, then that is a problem. That's not a free society. It doesn't matter if it's you're doing good service locally or you're going to war. It doesn't matter what it is. I think that we should get rid of the draft everywhere, and we're not a stronger, freer country because of expanding the draft to women. Is a false, ugly equality. Okay, that's all I got on that one, folks. So thanks again for joining us on A Free Solution. Of course, again, this week, Larry Sharp will be in on Tuesday. I'll be back in on Wednesday, Tim on Thursday, and then I think Friday might be a Liberty Show day. We might be joined by our friends from the Liberty Show. I'll get back to you on that. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Take care.